Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. So just a little over 3 years ago, I couldn't believe it. June 24th, remember, June 24th, 2022, our very own Stu Burgier sold merch with that date all over it because that was the day that SCOTUS gave us the Dobbs decision overturning Roe versus Wade. And leftists around us melted down. And they just gave us another big win that I want to get into. But first, we would be remiss if we didn't take a moment to just remember the chef's kiss, just beautiful, epic meltdowns.
It's all right. It's all right. I feel that way too. It's all right.
For nearly 50 years, we have talked about what Roe v. Wade protects. Today, as of right now, as of this minute, we can only talk about what Roe v. Wade protected.
We feel that way together, okay?
It's the first time in my lifetime that I can think of where a Supreme Court took away a right. You know, we're used to the Supreme Court granting rights, same-sex marriage, sort of in reinterpreting things. This is a specific right being taken away.
Let it out. Let it out.
There was a tiny minority that really put a lot of energy into, in effect, for themselves and for Republicans, putting Roe on the ballot over and over. But on the ballot didn't mean try to get it through the Congress, because they knew they couldn't do that. They're not even close to having national support for that. So instead, it was about getting extremist judges into the United States Supreme Court. Roe versus Wade
the extremists,
is settled law.
John
and
Roberts.
No one disturbs settled law.
Neil
This
Gorsuch
court has lost legitimacy.
Amy Coney
They
Barrett.
have burned whatever legitimacy they may still have had after their gun
All right,
decision,
Senator
after
Karen.
their voting decision, after their union decision. They just took the last of it and set a torch to it with the Roe versus Wade opinion.
But because I have responsibilities, I'm gonna do these freaking dishes.
I mean, as well you should, ma'am. What do the dishes have to do with you losing your mind over your right to kill children? That is really wild. I honestly cannot fathom. Like, I'm happy to have a conversation, a back and forth, a civil discussion about the merit of the pro-life argument. But when the other side is literally literally screaming and having an epic meltdown over less babies being killed in the womb, like, you gotta just, okay, you know what? We're past reason. We're past rational thinking. Like, you guys are just batshit crazy. So I want to get into the latest decision that we actually have SCOTUS to thank. Typically, it's like, we could go either way on SCOTUS. I don't even know if we can call it a 6-3 majority, conservative majority these days. I don't know, but we're going to take the win where we can get it. By the way, make sure that you share the show with your friends, share the show online, and make sure you subscribe to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Comment, it'll help us out in the algorithm, as well as remember to smash that like button. So here are the details of this case that the decision came out, the opinion came out today. This is Medina versus Planned Parenthood South Atlantic. Now, it was a 6-3 decision. As I just mentioned, the 6-3, you had the same dissenters as usual. The kooky women, the kooky lib women, Ketanji Brown Jackson, who doesn't even know what a woman is, couldn't tell you, she's not a biologist, Sonia Sotomayor, perhaps the dumbest Hispanic woman ever, and Elena Kagan. And they all ruled in the 6-3 decision, while the majority ruled that South Carolina, and now because South Carolina can, all states can block Medicaid from funding Planned Parenthood clinics. Do we have a round of applause in the control room? This is a big one, guys. South Carolina and now all states, yes, can block Medicaid from funding Planned Parenthood clinics. So here's how this came to be. 2018, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster signed an executive order to remove all abortion clinics from the state's Medicaid provider list. And the retarded thing is that federal law already prevents Medicaid from funding abortions, but they've got a loophole. Planned Parenthood has a loophole because remember, Planned Parenthood will tell you they just offer health care. They're just here for women's reproductive health care. It's all health care. What are you talking about? It's health care. We give cancer screenings. We give STD, STI treatments. We do screenings. We're just here for women and their health care. And I mean, I would say if the intended goal of every procedure that we call abortion is, of course, the death of a human life, that probably isn't good health care. Maybe we should stop calling it that. And so the way that this defunds Planned Parenthood, this law, is that Planned Parenthood receives 33 to 43% of its total revenue. That's $2.03 billion from the government each year. That's insane, guys. Medicaid reimbursements account for about 75% of that funding. So if you do the math, that's like 600, 700 mil. But about 50% of Planned Parenthood's patient visits are covered by Medicaid. That's 5 million annual visits. Now, the left is going to say, I mean, you can hear them now, right? It's the same dumb rhetoric that they said whenever, Roe versus Wade was overturned. Whenever we talk about Planned Parenthood being just absolutely demonic, they're like, what are you talking about? This isn't a conversation about abortion. The right wants women dying in the streets because you're cutting off their access to health care. You're cutting off their access to treatment for chlamydia or gonorrhea or what I don't know what's on the rise these days. I wouldn't know, but you're cutting off their access to all of these treatments that they got from sleeping around. How dare you? What about birth control? What about cancer screenings? How many women are going to get HPV because mean, nasty Republicans just want women to die in the streets because, a ton of Americans, only Planned Parenthood accepts publicly funded insurance? Well, that's not true. See, there are federally qualified health centers that are nationwide. There's, I think, like 1,300 centers that serve 13 million plus patients. You've got county and city public health clinics that accept Medicaid. And I mean, they do this all while not killing babies. So it's not as if Planned Parenthood is the only option. It's almost like the left's argument on killing babies is entirely disingenuous and evil. Almost. So if they would do, I don't know, an ounce of research, they would see that not only do you have this federally funded, actual healthcare, not only do you have nonprofits, you have specialty clinics that would accept this as well. They just don't want to see it. So with this decision, with this opinion, made me wonder which red states are going to be next. Which red states are going to say, oh, okay, all right, thank you very much, Supreme Court. Well, let's go ahead and enact some laws and let's get that law on the books. I would imagine probably Texas here in the, sometimes I say great state of Texas. In this instance, I will say great state of Texas. Here in the great state of Texas, we have been very, very, I would say groundbreaking. We have helped pave the way for some of these abortion laws. You would have to believe that Texas would be first on the list. Arkansas, Missouri, these are the states that already have some existing Medicaid exclusions since the Dobbs decision. So the SCOTUS ruling is going to help make sure that we can codify that. Because listen, I am actually all for shutting Planned Parenthood down entirely. But it's a sick, sick kind of person that thinks that every single person's taxpayer dollars should go to fund that type of evil. I mean, again, I would love it if they would shut down. You could say, okay, well, if they want to exist entirely off of private donations, because a bunch of people get together and say, we want our money to go specifically to this. We want our money to go specifically to abortion. Okay, I mean, I guess like you can spend your money however you want. Who am I to tell you not to? I would love it if they didn't have the ability to do that because Planned Parenthood wasn't in business. But to have taxpayer money funded is a special type of evil. And if we could eliminate that in as many states as possible, that would be great. So you have Indiana, who passed a bill in 2011 restricting Medicaid for Planned Parenthood. You have Tennessee that filed a Section 1115 waiver to exclude Planned Parenthood from Medicaid. In Louisiana in 2015, Governor Bobby Jindal issued an executive order to prevent Planned Parenthood from using Medicaid. Kansas also previously tried to block $330,000 a year going to Planned Parenthood. And so who will be next? It's like a game show. It's like a game show. Who will be the next to deny Planned Parenthood from getting taxpayer funding to provide abortion. You've got states with GOP-controlled legislatures, Ohio, Arizona, New Hampshire, and then you have states with trigger laws or abortion bans at, a certain point, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. So it will be very, very interesting to see. This obviously sets a huge precedent in the entire country. And gosh, wouldn't it be so sad? It would be so sad if Planned Parenthood just got defunded throughout all of these states and then they had to just pack up shop and leave the states. That would be, oh my gosh, I think I feel it. Oh no, wait, that's not a tear. That's just my eyelash. Sorry. I thought I was going to cry, but it turns out I wasn't. So I want to bring in the panel, and I could get their take on that, but I also want to talk about Pete Hegseth, SecDef Pete Hegseth's fiery press conference this morning. Sometimes I'm like, did they watch the show? Because he basically pointed out all of the things that I was talking about yesterday with the mainstream media just being just absolutely disgusting, reprehensible. They are America last. They want us to fail solely because orange man bad to them. We'll get into that after the break. First, we want to thank our sponsor, this segment, BlueChew. So you can remove the children for this one, guys. BlueChew is, for those of you who are like, I'm tired of the vanilla stuff in between the sheets. You don't want vanilla anymore, all right? BlueChew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. This is an erection-enhancing tablet that helps men achieve stronger, harder, and long-lasting. There it is. Hey, Steven.
Yes.
Do you remember when President Trump, they were putting up the flagpole?
Yes, I do.
And what did he say? What did he call it?
I know what he didn't call it because he said he would get, they'd hit him for it.
He said it was the E word. He said, I could say it's the E word, but I don't want to say it because they're going to hit me hard if I say it. It's called erection, okay? They erected the flagpole. You could erect your flagpole too for a very long time, and BlueChew can help you do that. So here's the thing. If you have ED, I'm not like, look, that sucks, and it's not your fault. So you can use BlueChew for that, but you also can use BlueChew if you just, I don't know, you want to spice things up a little bit. Maybe you're just getting a little bit bored. Maybe you want to spice things up. Here's what I can tell you. BlueChew is made in the USA. It's not from China. So you know that you're going to be getting quality stuff here. They're going to prepare it and ship it directly to your door. And it's all done online. So there's no embarrassing visit to the doctor's office or anything like that. You don't have to wait in line at the pharmacy and wait to see if the pharmacist is going to judge you whenever you check out. Don't do that, okay? You can go to BlueChew.com. And if you use promo code Sarah at checkout, your first month of BlueChew is going to be for free. It is BlueChew.com, promo code Sarah. You're welcome. All right, welcome to the show. Blaze TV contributors, both Matthew Marsden, along with Eric July. You can find Eric at rippaverse.com. Go check out his comics. You can find Matt at Matthew D. Marsden on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to his channel. You can find me at AmericanBeautyBySarah.com. I am wearing Miss America on my lips right now. Go get some. So, I want to talk about, we talked about on the show yesterday, this, you don't hate the media enough, right? Just the idea that you don't hate the media enough. And their reaction to this bombing in Iran has just been incredible because they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. They're like, what are you talking about? They didn't have any nuclear stuff going on. And then they're like, well, but actually, how do we know that you obliterated it and destroyed it? Because we saw a low confidence preliminary report that said that you might not have. So we're just going to go to air with it and make you look bad. I mean, it's just been really, really incredible. And they got ripped a new one today by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who held a press conference this morning. And it was pretty incredible. I want to play this first one here is, there's a saying, and there's a lot of sayings in the military. Now, I've never been in the military. You've played a military serviceman on TV.
Just like it, Eric.
Just like it, man.
Just like it.
The same thing. By the way, I'm joking. No disrespect, okay? But, they have a lot of sayings and mottos and figures of speech in the military, many of which refer to men because it's mostly men. My personal belief is that it should only be men, but that's fine. It's just, the point is, like, it's no disrespect to anyone. It's just a figure of speech, something they say. And, you know, the media wants to get up in arms if female pilots don't get their credit because these sexist Republicans are trying to erase females from the military again, or not at all. Here is Pete Hegseth addressing that.
Acknowledge the female pilots that also participated in this mission. The early messages that you sent out only congratulated the boys.
So when I say something like our boys and bombers, see, this is the kind of thing the press does, right? Of course, the chairman mentioned a female bomber pilot. That's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's a hero. I want more female bomber pilots. I hope the men and women of our country sign up to do such brave and audacious things. But when you spin it as, because I say our boys and bombers as a common phrase, I'll keep saying things like that, whether they're men or women. Very proud of that female pilot, just like I'm very proud of those male pilots. And I don't care if it's a male or a female in that cockpit, and the American people don't care. But it's the obsession with race and gender in this department that's changed priorities. We don't do that anymore. We don't play your little games.
It's just so refreshing to see, because when you're talking about, you know, you can have your own opinion on whether or not we should have gone in there and bombed these nuclear sites. You can have that conversation. I appreciate all types of views. But what I'm not willing to entertain is, but why didn't you give the female pilot credit? Because you said boys and bombers, and that could be offensive to the female pilot. Could you let the female pilot speak for herself? If she has a problem, she's more than welcome to bring it up. But odds are she already knows that it's a figure of speech and she's not at all offended because she's not a little bitch. If she's a bomber pilot. I mean, I'm saying, like, she sounds like a badass. I don't think she's going to be at all offended. And here we are taking questions, and instead of very important questions that they could be asking, they're asking if he could at least give female pilots credit or whether or not he's sexist. I mean, it's like it's so crazy to me that they still think that this is going to work.
Yeah, that's what pisses me off about that. I mean, the media, they're still wired like it is, I don't know, 2016, 2017. Like, they haven't really changed from that line of thinking where they can only analyze things through the lens of race and gender and demographics and, you know, underrepresentation, overrepresentation. That's the only way that they can see something as good. Actually, everything that they base, you know, their whole sort of moral positions are based upon that. And whether or not that thing is good or bad is really contingent or dependent on that, like how they analyze that. What was the makeup of this? So stupid, but it shows in their questions. You brought up a fantastic point just now. Like, they should be asking more important questions because there's a lot of them to be asked surrounding what's going on in Iran with be it the ceasefire and what's that going to lead to, the conflicting reports as you've talked about with. You know, did they work? You know, 3 months ago they were close. They weren't even close to getting nukes. Now they are close to getting nukes. Well, they bombed it. They obliterated everything. It's been they've been set back for several years. Oh wait, they're only set back for a couple of months. These are the things you think they'd be diving into as reporters if they're responsible, because the American people will want to know that. They'd be asking those questions like, can you give us clarification? Are you sure? What proof do you have? Like, what intelligence are you relying on to assess it? Which is important. That's all important. They're not asking. And I watched it before the show. They didn't ask any of that hardly. Sure, Rubio talked about kind of, the leaks and everything, but they weren't really talking or really asking those necessary questions. Our media in this country is a joke. It is a complete and utter joke. I think everybody that's looking, because yes, everybody watching this show has opinions on what's going on in Iran. It's probably split right down the middle on who people think is positive, people think is negative. So everybody's like, well, we want to know more. We would love to know what else is going on. You're not, unfortunately, going to get it from them.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you brought up that Rubio had some things to say, but it's like, well, he might as well have just pre-taped a recorded conversation speaking directly to the camera, because they're not going to ask any follow-up questions that are worth asking. So why even have them in the room if it's not to ask educated, well thought out questions that actually matter, rather than, well, but can you apologize to the female pilot for hurting her feelings?
Absolutely insane.
I mean, the sad thing about this, I'll almost guarantee that the female pilot is cringing right now, saying, hey, listen, what's one of the first things they say when they go into those situations? treat me like one of the boys, right? It's a figure of speech. Everybody says it. Everybody says this. And we know, look, this is not the MCU, right? It's not Marvel where they have to like hit it home all the time. Look, I'm a woman. They're like, hey, listen, I'm as good as anybody else. So I passed the test. I mean, if you are a B-2 pilot and you are flying a plane that's $500 million, you earned it.
Right.
There's nothing to do with DEI in that. And we all know that. That's the funny thing. We all know that, right? When we're looking at this. I want to make another point, Sarah. And that is, I saw today the Ayatollah Khomeini come out and go, they did not do any damage. And everyone's like, see, the Ayatollah said that.
Oh, we're
like,
believing the Ayatollah now.
Are you really believing the Ayatollah? Really? All of a sudden and what is really disconcerting for me is the amount of people that want it to be true.
Yeah.
Like they want this, and like this isn't, again, they're in their little bubble. This isn't a game.
Iran having nuclear weapons, totally great to them. Yeah.
How many times have we said this is a group of people that want to hasten the coming of the 12th Imam, which means the end of the world. And you're like going, I hope they didn't get it because I'd win because Orange Man, shows Orange Man didn't do it. Well, actually, no. No, this would be catastrophic for everybody. And again, like Eric said, people are split down the middle, mainly because, and a friend of mine said this the other night, Mary Rook said that she had two, well, I love the way she said it. I've got two people inside me. One that's like, I'm very, very glad that we took out this threat, but also I don't want to get into a war with them. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that those two things can be true at the same time as well.
It's a very nuanced, complex
It's very
situation.
nuanced. Yeah. It's very nuanced. And we need to start, not doing what CNN does. And that is, and by the way, and Fox, by the way, they were a disgrace, the questions that they were asking Pete this morning, or it was this morning, right? Yeah. We need to like slow down, step back a little bit and ask the intelligent questions.
So let's play. He did have quite an incredible exchange with one of Fox News's reporters here, Jennifer Griffin. I mean, I had secondhand embarrassment for her after he was done reaming her. Here is Pete Hegseth and Jennifer Griffin from Fox News.
Do you have certainty that all the highly enriched uranium was inside the Fordo mountain, or some of it, because there were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance? Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect, but Jennifer, you've been about the worst. The one who misrepresents the most intentionally. What the president says. I'm familiar.
Report about the ventilation shafts on Saturday night, and in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this was the first the most successful mission based on operational security.
Yeah, that's
this
what's
department
crazy.
has done since
This
you've
is
been
a
here.
former Fox News host.
So we're looking at all aspects of intelligence and making sure we have a sense of what was where.
That is so awkward. And you notice in the moment, I just don't know how I would feel about a situation, but I can almost guarantee that if I am in there and I'm speaking to a secretary, I don't argue with him in the middle of his answer. Like, I probably just take it and deal with it later. Like, I try to get with him privately maybe and say, hey, just so you know. Or
just report it. Like, let's say he bullshitted the answer. You just write that. Report it.
Exactly.
Report that.
Let him answer. Yeah. Let him answer the question how he cares to answer it. And then whatever you want to say about it afterwards, you're allowed to do that. But the way that she pushed back on him so much, like the ego was in her way. Yeah, the ego, she couldn't let go. She's like, no, I'm going to correct you. And then let's go ahead and play one more here. Pete Hegseth, there's just something so beautiful about standing right in front of all of these people who have lied to the American people for the better part of a decade and just expressing just how much you loathe them. It has to be so cathartic, I would imagine. Watch.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard. It's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump. Because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope
it's so
maybe
true.
they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented him isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it. Spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible. And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad.
So I want to go back to something that you said, Eric, because I brought this up yesterday, and I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Because you said, who are we getting the information from? Where is the information coming from that says that we obliterated it? Where is the information coming from that says that they did not already take the enriched uranium somewhere else off site, that it's still safe, which, by the way, wouldn't do them any good. We talked about this on the show yesterday. It wouldn't do them any good because what would they, you have to, it's a whole process. You can't just take it and then create anything out of it. They would need a centrifuge still. But the reports that I read came from both Iran, Tel Aviv, and the United States. And I sat here and I was like, what good would it do Israel to lie and say, yep, you obliterated it? You know what I mean? Because if there is a report coming from Israel, I mean, if anything, Israel would be the one to go in the opposite direction and say, nope, it's not good enough. We got to go again. We got to bomb more. You got to move in. You got to put boots on the ground. You need to help us, because that would be what their side would warrant, right? So when I'm looking at that, I'm like, they would have no reason to lie and say, yes, we achieved our goal. We achieved our objective, because at that point we would be done, right?
Well, I don't know that. I mean, and again, I think this is why it's important to ask the questions, because I mean, I think we're starting in the middle here. I think what the true argument, and where we skipped right past that, is, was the initial intel legitimate anyway? Because if you remember, backtracking to when the strikes first started from Israel, they did it upon the premise that they were getting close to building these nukes or whatever, nuclear capabilities. And U.S. involvement, obviously, Iran is saying death to whatever. The reason why that is a point of contention, just for the sake of conversation, because I know America, there's like, oh, don't you go and start trying to defend, whoever. We're not doing that here. I'm just putting all the information out there. The reason why people take kind of exception to that or question it is because Tulsi Gabbard just said the complete opposite, right? And when I say the complete opposite, it was literally the complete opposite. Now, we know that with a lot of things, stuff can change, right? But that becomes a very weird conversation to have, because if they were able to, in a span of 3 months, go from not being close to being close, what stops them from going right back there now? Right? So it's like, it's about the information. It's like, we're relying on Israel's information, and I'm not saying they're lying. I don't know. That's the point, right? Was that information legitimate? Were they even close in the first place? Right? I don't know. I have absolutely no idea what that is, and if it is true, and if it's true, and there is an in and out kind of situation. I don't know. It's still stuff floating out there with regards to the ceasefire, because that's all that this is right now. As of right now, this war is not over. Right? I think we're jumping the gun way too often, especially dealing with Israel, who is notorious for saying, I know we agreed to this. I don't want to do this anymore. We're gonna go right back to stuff up, right? They do that. Okay. So I would love to know, and I guess that's what we're always going to argue. It's not like they're just going to come give us the classified information, what they're relying on. And they're trying to convince us that this is wholly not only legitimate, but we're done here. We're not going to fund Israel and their efforts to continue this bull crap. And we're not going to go over there and kick off another perpetual war. That's why this is such a point of contention. It's not just simply about whether or not they were successful. It's whether or not they lied in the first place, or the information was faulty that they relied upon to start dropping bombs in Iran.
So for the Tulsi exchange, of course, this was in her confirmation hearings. And for the Tulsi exchange, I almost wonder if part of that is also the media's fault for perhaps taking something out of context that she had said. I think that we have the clip of Tulsi with the full context, just so the viewers know what we're talking about. Let's play that.
Iran continues to seek expansion of its influence in the Middle East, despite the degradation to its proxies and defenses during the Gaza conflict. Iran has developed and maintains ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and UAVs, including systems capable of striking U.S. targets and allies in the region. Tehran has shown a willingness to use these weapons, including during a 2020 attack on U.S. forces in Iraq and in attacks against Israel in April and October 2024. Iran's cyber operations and capabilities also present a serious threat to U.S. networks and data. The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons.
Okay.
Iran will likely continue efforts to counter Israel and press for U.S. military withdrawal from the region by aiding, arming, and helping to reconstitute its loose consortium of like-minded terrorists and militant actors, which it refers to as its axis of resistance. Although weakened, this collection of actors still presents a wide range of threats, including to Israel's population, U.S. forces deployed in Iraq and Syria, and to U.S. and international military and commercial shipping and transit.
So, did you see that full clip?
Yeah.
Okay. Because what I've seen floating around mainstream media is just the beginning of that clip, and where she says they don't have nuclear weapons. Then she goes on to say they have unprecedented levels of enriched uranium, which does actually kind of go to what just happened. But no one in the media wants to talk about that or give her credit for the full context of what she said. They're just like, no, Tulsi just said that they don't have any nuclear weapons. Well, she also said the enriched uranium was at unprecedented levels. Maybe we could talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that what Eric's saying is really valid about the intelligence, because I read a book. I read a book years ago called Pretext for War by a guy called James Bamford, and he talks about how when Saddam Hussein was basically bluffing, he was bluffing about WMDs, both American and British intelligence actually went to the same person and asked them independently, didn't know they were talking to one another, which is insane.
That's crazy.
Right? And he both said, yeah, they've got WMDs. You can look at them, and Bamford apparently is on the left. So this is not like a right-leaning guy. So we have to be very careful about the intel. Saying that, I think we need to look at other aspects. For example, why are you building a facility in a mountain that has concrete that is 6 times as strong as regular concrete, that is specifically designed to stop bunker buster bombs? Now, you might say, well, that's not a reason to bomb them, right? And you'd be right. But if you are looking at, and we're looking and saying, well, we don't really know, maybe they have it, maybe they do know that they have this enriched uranium to 60%. They've said that they do. The IAEA, I think it's called the Atomic Energy Agency, they have not been allowed to go to all these different places. So Iran's been playing this game. So if you're looking at a situation where the Israelis went in and took out all of the anti-aircraft weapons, this is absolutely the best time and the most opportune time, and with the least amount of risk for America to go in and take care of business. So I think
not be sucked into something.
Not be sucked into something else. So, you know, again, we don't know all the information. I think I agree with you, Eric. I think that we're big people that we should be told. But I think that if you can also look at all the other aspects of this particular raid, and the fact that Trump said he did not want to get into war, But he also said he didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I think that, maybe I shouldn't, but I tend to look at this and say, well, I think that was probably an action that was justified. Could we be wrong? I think we could be certainly wrong about the intel. Is it an opportune time to do it? I think it is.
Yeah.
And right now, look, they're still going to lie. As you said, they're still going to lie. The Iranians are still going to do their thing. The Israelis, both of them. And like Donald Trump said, you're both effing nightmare.
Don't know
he
what
said,
you're doing.
He said it. He knows. He knows. So he's not going into it like blindly. That to me was the most refreshing thing.
Yeah, that's not blind allegiance to Israel.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Not at all.
He was pissed because clearly they don't have blind allegiance to us with regard to
Which is
what
Eric's
he helped
point,
negotiate.
right?
I know.
Which is his
I know.
point.
Well, and that's the thing. I know we got to go to break, but that's the thing about all of this. It's like, okay, you have this ally, right? And I'm not going to get into argument whether they are or not. Like I know many of our viewers will go there. But when they, immediately violate a ceasefire, like immediately, right? Yeah. Immediately violate a ceasefire to the point, and it's not me saying it, Trump said it, okay? Yeah. So they do that, and it's like, okay, you're relying specifically on their intel. And again, it's not to say that they are telling the truth or they're lying. It's to say that I don't know.
Right.
And there is a history that we be very foolish to ignore of them doing things that escalate tension, right? Mm-hmm. On faulty evidence, right? Whether it be with Iran, whether they've done it with Iraq, they've done it with Afghanistan, they've funded both sides of various conflicts. And I think that the American people are completely justified to at least question it, especially considering what's happened in that region. Hell, even dealing with, do people not remember what happened with Saddam Hussein? Do people not remember that we once funded proudly Saddam Hussein when he wanted to invade Iraq? That popped off that entire war after the Iranian Revolution in 1979 or whenever that was, and he thought that, oh well, this whole uprising is going to impact my country, and then he invades them. They funded them, and then after that, we're beefing with Saddam. Right, like we're mad at Saddam after the whole Kuwait thing, right? Because he invades Kuwait. Now we're mad. We've done this for as long as I've been alive. So I think everybody is. It's not to say that people are ragging on Trump. It's not to say that people are like even questioning him. It's more like maybe you're relying on faulty information, so they want the questions answered.
Well, to your point, really quickly, I know we got to go, Stephen. Really quickly, we are actually funding the Taliban.
Yeah,
like literally right now. The House just passed Tim Burchett's HR 260 No Tax Dollars for Terrorists Act, and so now it's under consideration by the Senate. But what happened was August 15th, 2021, when Kabul fell after Joe Biden's disastrous withdrawal, the Taliban took over. We've been sending 40 million American tax dollars weekly to Afghanistan's Taliban-controlled central bank. That's over $5 billion.
Insane.
It's insane.
Over $5 billion that we have been sending at this whole time. And Tim Burchett's like, hey, maybe we should stop doing that.
Maybe not. That's not a good thing.
Maybe we should not do that.
We're going to say the guy's a traitor.
1,000%. 1,000%. So to Eric's point, not only did that happen before, it is currently still happening. Yes. And that's got to change. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Remember former Representative Jamal Bowman, once a member of the squad, and we saw how that star fell, and it fell hard, it fell bad, and it's still continuing to fall as he goes on to, he goes on to very dumb shows, and sometimes you think, well, he's on with a lot of dumb people, so he couldn't possibly sound any dumber than the rest of them. But no. If there's one thing Jamal Bowman is good at, it is sounding stupid. And I'd like to play for you Jamal Bowman trying to blame everything wrong with the world on, yes, you guessed it, racism in America. Watch.
Catholic
And the problem is we are not dealing with America's original sin and its disease of hate and racism towards black and brown people and sexism towards women and anti-LGBTQ sentiment. We are not dealing with that.
Don't forget the
Your
LGBTQ.
colleagues in the
It's
Republican
still Pride
Party
Month.
do not hold each other accountable when it comes to the racism that comes from the party on a consistent basis.
Congressman, I mean, where are you on
You
the where are
can't
the
be calm
assassination
about this. I'm a black man in America. The reason why
Really?
heart disease,
I'm white, I can't comment on
listen
it.
to what I'm saying. The reason why heart disease and cancer and obesity
I can't
and
comment on
diabetes are bigger in the black community is because of the stress we carry from having to
Oh,
deal
that's
with
why.
being called the N-word directly or indirectly every day.
Wait.
If your colleagues would listen and try to
Don't
learn
explode.
and engage and
Don't
grow
explode, Eric.
and
Don't
stop being
explode.
so hateful, we could have a better country.
First question. Obviously, Eric. How can you be called indirectly the N-word?
Not quite sure about that. I don't really have an answer for that one.
Directly or indirectly being called the N-word is why we have higher levels of diabetes and heart disease and cancer. Yes, I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with any of that. A lot of all of the things that you
You have to
list.
say as a black man in America.
Oh yeah, that's right, because that validates
qualify. Yeah, you have to
everything.
qualify yourself.
That validates everything I say because I become correct. Just
I can't say
And then you
anything. He
should-
can't say anything.
Hey, listen, you can.
I can.
You're a woman
I am a
and you're
woman.
Mexican.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm the one but I'm an immigrant. Darn it. I'm not illegal.
And you're not LGBT, which takes off.
Well,
major
maybe
points.
I am.
Yeah, you could decide today.
You could.
Yeah.
Just for the hour.
Yeah,
really.
exactly. It's fluid, man.
I am 2% sub-Saharan African.
There you go.
Oh, there you
So
go.
I'm with Eric
There you
now.
go.
there
So
you go.
you-
As a black woman in America, I'd like for you. I mean, it's so.
No, man.
it's so stupid.
It speaks. He is just, rattling off everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unfortunately with a lot of the authoritarian left in today's day and age, that's how they are wired and that's what they fall back on and that's how they default. Okay. Now, in that setting, you see just how ridiculous that it sounds, but this is something that they believe. They try to trace all of these completely unrelated things to racism, and it gives them an out for bad behavior. And that's what really annoys. It's been annoying me for, I've talked about this subject publicly for 15 years. And it's been so frustrating because there are things that you can identify that are culturally issues, right? And those can be resolved. The white folk they're not gonna be the ones to resolve it. This is something that's going to come from within. That in itself should be a very liberating mind of thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not that means that, well, you're not some puppet. Your world does not only move when someone else moves it for you. These are issues that you can absolutely
You're in
resolve.
control of your own destiny.
That's
very freeing.
That's a when you are, I don't care who you are, when you understand that is a liberating thing, and that will open up so many other doors.
Yeah.
Those doors will remain closed if you are going to blame something that we already know. You can't even fool people anymore to have them believe that stuff like diabetes and all this other nonsense is somehow connected to the fact that every day we're being called the N-word or something like that. And look, guys, I am from the South. So this is where the terms are supposed to be getting thrown willy-nilly. I'm sorry, there's no Klansman. When I was walking up to the studio, there was no Klansman.
He was on his lunch break.
Oh, yeah, that's why. He didn't jump out in the bush and just say, bam, N-word. That's not how it works, man.
What about indirectly?
Indirect. I didn't quite check for that. I didn't quite check for the indirect N-word. But no, that's not the reality. People's issues are not going to be solved until they embrace the fact that, look, it's not the white folks that are presenting all of these issues. And we know, like a history of high blood pressure and all these other things that have ran in my family, that all has to do with freaking diet, man. It has to do with all the greasy ass
They
foods.
eat delicious food.
And that's the problem, right? It's they too damn good, right? High calories, they're delicious, but maybe only have that every once in a while instead of, I don't know, every single day, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. him. So this guy's a nut. I'm glad that it was presented the way that it was so everybody can see just how ridiculous that it sounds. This fool just connected freaking diabetes to the N-word. And that's, if nothing else, that's impressive.
Also, he put all those different, like, victim groups all in
the same.
As if we're all the same.
Right,
What?
right.
What are you even talking about?
As a black man in America, but also LGBT.
And also brown, as if that doesn't embody. It's basically everybody that's not white, male, and straight. And I'm like, do you not understand, like, how, like, you're on completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Just because we're black and brown,
right,
it does not make us say, I have more similarities with
exactly.
you.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, dude.
Right?
That's the ridiculousness of it.
As a white man in America, how do you feel?
I don't know, because I identify as a black woman.
Oh.
Lesbian.
As a black lesbian woman, how do you feel?
Oh, I feel victimized, definitely. Are you being passive-aggressive to me right now?
It was a microaggression, I'm sorry. Just indirectly.
Okay. Indirectly.
I still can't figure out. How would that?
It's just so absurd. And I'm so glad now, Eric, honestly, because now people are just saying, you are just so full of shit.
Yeah.
We're not buying it anymore. It's ridiculous. And how that in and of itself is liberating, I think. We're moving past it. Nobody cares.
Yeah, it's what can you not blame on people being racist, I guess? Nothing. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Well, we've been talking about Zoran Mamdani, who is, of course, now the Democrat candidate for the New York City mayoral position. And he just recently appeared on The Breakfast Club and had this to say about the rapper 50 Cent.
And the second is taxing the top 1% of New Yorkers. We're talking about people who make $1 million a year or more, taxing them just by a flat 2% tax increase. And I know if 50 Cent is listening, he's not going to be happy about this. He tends to not like this tax policy, but I want to be very clear. This is about $20,000 a year. It's a rounding error.
All right, so listen, when you're a crazy from New York and you've lost 50 Cent, I don't know what to tell you, because 50 Cent responded, where did he come from? Whose friend is this? I'm not feeling this plan. No, I will give him $258,750 and a first-class one-way ticket away from New York. I'm telling Trump what he said, too.
That is so great.
You've lost 50 Cent, man. Golly, it's really crazy when you see this guy's policies and the way he wants to tax businesses and people. And it's like, New York's never going to be the same if this guy gets in. This is the only time in my life I'm going to say, listen to 50 Cent. Take the $258.
And it was crazy that the lesser of the evil now is Eric freaking Adams.
Yeah.
All right. It makes him look like a complete stud rock star.
He looks like Trump compared to him, which is insane.
I want to see polling.
This guy is a literal communist, right?
Literally.
And that in itself is just abhorrent. Nobody should be able to run for office.
No, you should be deported.
I agree with that 100%. I've always been for a deported communist.
Even American citizens.
If you're a communist, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're traitors.
Well, no, that's your advocate. You literally, your position requires you to advocate aggression upon peaceful people.
Yep.
It's incompatible with what this country is about.
There's room on the deportation planes, probably. We can fit you guys in. You can go to, or the Trebuchet.
El Salvador or whatever.
I'm telling you guys, it's a good fundraiser. Press the button, $50. $50 a pop.